Hey, what's up you guys? You're watching Team APS, Paul here, and in today's video I'm going to be doing another deck profile of a deck that I feel like I've been promising you guys for the longest time, and I'm finally delivering. This is my Crystron deck, so if you've been watching my videos, you know I've been talking about building this and just being really interested in it. But funny enough, this isn't so much going to be a deck profile as much as maybe just sort of an open forum about this deck. I've been using it for some time and playtesting it, experimenting with different cards, but I really want you guys' input and feedback here. I feel like there's untapped potential in this deck, and you know, it's not like 100% complete. The extra deck's not like totally done. I mean, I've got most of the cards, but in the comments, just let me know like what you think of this deck and like how I can improve it and what maybe builds you're using. But I just wanted to get it, you know, to you guys. I know I promised it, and so. All right, so let's hop right into this. First, we've got triple Citron, Crystron Citry. Yeah, so basically this is your main tuner that you're going to be using, and what you can do is during your opponent's main phase or battle phase, you're able to special summon any monster from your graveyard that's not a tuner, and then immediately synchro summon using it and Citry. And when you do that, the monsters get banished instead of going to the graveyard. So that seems like a bad thing, but this deck makes pretty good use of banished cards. So some fun facts about Citry. She can actually use any monster in your grave that's like not a tuner, but generally that's going to be Crystron monsters, but just keep it in mind. It's helpful to know. And being able to synchro on your opponent's turn, all the tuners have that ability, but hers is probably the best because, you know, you'll be wanting to use your graveyard primarily. So that's why I'm running 3 copies of her, and she's level 2, and that's a helpful level. Next is Citron Quan, which basically it's the one that can summon one from your hand and make a synchro monster out of it. Not really too useful. I'm considering cutting this card down to 1 just because like being level 1 doesn't help a whole lot, and usually I'd rather be synchro summoning with the effects of like the banished ones like Ryan, who's coming up here in a second, than the hand, because like since he's level 1 you can only summon one thing from your hand. It's probably going to be like Smiger or something, and that'll only make like a level 4, so it's a good way to make Quandax, but other than that, not too helpful. Fun fact though, you can summon this with like machine duplication and stuff if you want. So that's neat and 1 for 1, but I'm not running those cards, although I'm thinking about it. And then lastly, I've got 2 Crystron Ryan, which I'm thinking of running 3 copies of because this deck banishes cards so much. So yeah, basically the way that Crystron Ryan works is the same as Citry and stuff. It uses cards that were banished to make your synchros, but instead of going to the grave, they get shuffled back into the deck instead. So yeah, he's cool though because he's a level 3 tuner, and that really helps because since a lot of stuff in your banished zone is going to be like maybe higher level, it lets you make like decent sized synchros, mainly things like Powered and Zektron. So, oh, and one last thing that I probably forgot to mention about these, they do have to make like water machine synchros or just machine synchros, I forget which. So that's sort of a restriction on them, at least when you use those effects. So just something to keep in mind. Next, we've got triple Crystron the Western. I don't know. Alex told me how to pronounce this card. I don't remember. But basically, it's got an effect that actually all of these have. I just think I should just explain them together because it's easier that way. Basically, they can destroy another face-up card you have in the field. And when they do, they let you summon any of your Crystron tuners from your deck. So like, you know, cards like Ryan or Citry. And that's really neat. Although the problem with this deck is that it sometimes has a little bit of trouble getting off the ground because it's tough to have something to destroy to summon the tuner from the deck. So it sounds like a good effect, but it's sometimes really tough to do. The cool thing too about them though is that when they're in the graveyard, you can banish them to search cards or do other effects. So like you can banish the Western or whatever you say this. You can banish him and search any Crystron monster from your deck to your hand. Really helpful. You can also do the same thing with Smiger to get a Crystron spell or trap. And Paraciordal actually just lets you summon a Crystron monster, special summon one from your hand. So that's why I'm only running 2 of him, in addition to being level 2, so he's not quite as useful as the others, because you usually want those higher levels to make synchros with. Then next we've got 2 Rosenix. I might be like cutting this down to 1. It's not the most useful card. It actually works the same way as the others, but when you banish it from the grave, you get a level 1 tuner instead. So pretty neat. I can actually see this maybe in like Link format being good, because you know there's all that hype around the whole tuners, or not tuners, but token thing. Sorry if I said tuners. Yeah, so pretty good. The token's useful for like making certain synchro plays I've experimented with, but I still am not as big a fan of this card. It has the best stats of them all though, so. Next, there's Crystron Sulfefner, which I'm considering running maybe 3 copies of. You can pitch a Crystron card from your hand to summon it from your hand or your graveyard in defense position, and then when it gets summoned, it pops a card in the field. So that's kind of annoying because it means it's tough to really accumulate advantage with this, but you can pop on Different Dimension Deep Sea Trench, which is a card I'm going to be getting into here in a bit, or like, Crystron monsters that you can like later banish for their effects. Him being level 5 is also helpful, and when he gets destroyed, he can summon any Crystron from your deck, so he at least floats and can kind of help you in that sense. Maybe having better stats would be nice, but yeah, I think I might run 3. So next, I've got Triple Scrap Recycler. It's only really helpful for its first effect. It lets you send a machine-type monster from your deck to your grave, so it's like a Mathematician. I'm actually not running Mathematician in here, though I feel like it might be something else I could run. And basically, it's just to send like a Crystron monster to your grave. So you could say, start off by normal summoning it and sending like, this card to the graveyard from your deck and like banishing it to search something. Although normally I'd be doing that. Sorry, camera. Normally I'd be doing that with something like Smiger. Second effect's not that important, so I'm not going to really go into too much detail. Now for the spells and traps, Triple Different Dimension Deep Sea Trench. This is a really powerful combo card in this deck because what it allows you to do is banish a water monster from your hand, deck, or graveyard, and then when this card gets destroyed, that water monster gets special summoned back to your side of the field. So normally you want to banish one from the graveyard ideally, but I mean you can do it from anywhere really. So like in maybe an opening hand, if you open with like let's say you open with like these guys, right? And then like a copy of Different Dimension Deep Sea Trench. So you could like activate Different Dimension Deep Sea Trench. We'll say banish this, so it gets banished, right? And then you can normal summon your Smiger, activate Smiger's effect to destroy Different Dimension Deep Sea Trench, which special summons a Crystron monster tuner from your deck, something like maybe Citry, and then Different Dimension Deep Sea Trench activates and gets back this. So it's kind of cool. It's like a mini combo extender. Not the best card in the world, but I mean also not the worst. Like sometimes this deck just, like I said, has trouble getting off the ground and you need something to pop with your Crystron monsters to get your combos moving, and so that's where this comes in handy. What's really cool about it though is that you can actually, banish your synchro monsters with this too. So they'll come back when this card dies, and that's where it can get a little bit more helpful. So just things to keep in mind. Probably the thing I'm least confident about. Double Crystallic Potential and Terraforming. I'm not running Starlight Junction. I've seen a lot of people running it, but I'm just not running it because I don't have it. The Crystallic Potential is not bad. It boosts your Crystron monster's power up a bit. Not that big of a deal, but like it can help because the synchros get sort of big. The main thing is that after you synchro summon them, you get to draw a card for each one you summon that turn during your end phase, so it can kind of help you keep card advantage. Not the most reliable thing, and I'm not really a big fan of field spells like this that don't actually move your strategy forward very much, so I'll probably drop it, but it's just something you guys can give me some more feedback on that. Tomb Array of Greed, questionable card. I mean, like, it's draw power if you're running a water deck, so like why not try it? You just shuffle 2 water monsters from your hand into your deck and draw 3, so it's a little bit of deck thinning, and I don't know, like I have mixed opinions, because usually I actually kind of want my Crystrons in my hand, I just don't want too many of them, so weird card, but it's draw power, and that's that. Foolish Burial is just like another scrap recycler. You want to get the Crystrons in the grave, especially Smigers, so you can search some Crystron impact. So that's all this is really here for. I'm running 2 Dark Holes. I could like run a Dark Hole and a Raigeki. I just don't have my other Raigeki with me. But yeah, you can use this to, nuke the board, and more importantly, if your Crystron monsters die, a lot of them float. All the Synchros float, Sulfefner floats. Stuff like Smiger and Thevestern, you can banish them from the grave anyway. So that's why this is pretty neat. It's kind of similar to the idea of why you would use it in like Yang Zings. There goes a car. Next is Upstart Goblin. Draw power, the works. Then Double Twin Twisters, because sometimes you have these dead Crystrons in your hand you can't really do much with, because this deck doesn't really get much beyond its normal summon. So being able to pitch off some of your Crystrons and then banish them from the grave to start up plays is helpful, and it gets rid of backrow, and this deck hates backrow because in a deck where you can't do a whole lot per turn, you really don't want to have to deal with too many traps. You gotta always be very careful, like Dimensional Barrier as well. And then the only traps I'm running, and I should probably be running more, but because it's like an early build of it, I'm just kind of running the main stuff. 1 Crystron Entry and 3 Crystron Impact. Crystron Impact summons any of your banished Crystrons, which is huge. And then in addition to that, after the turn it goes to the grave, you can banish it from your grave whenever your opponent does something that targets a Crystron and negate that effect. So like, you can stop a Book of Moon or, a card like that. But the main thing is you're able to summon a banished Crystron monster, which gets you an extra monster in the field, and that's very helpful for this deck. You'll mostly be searching this card out when you use Crystron Smiger. And what's cool is when Smiger banishes himself to search Crystron Impact, that's effectively setting up Crystron Impact because it's banished. But in addition to Smiger, the fact that like Citri banishes your cards and stuff means that there's usually always a target for this, and chaining it is especially good. Crystron Entry is a mixed card. You summon a Crystron tuner from your hand and then one from your grave, and that's like kind of just what you do. It's hard to actually make it like work a lot of the times, but it can also change the level of a Crystron monster by banishing itself from your grave, and changing their levels can come in handy when you want to make the bigger synchros. So that's the main deck. Like I said, very, very rough, very early build. A lot of stuff could be changed. And now for the extra deck. Now this is not complete at all. I'm just running a lot of copies of the main Crystron monsters like this one. And I haven't filled out the rest of the extra deck, so you guys can tell me exactly what cards would, work best in there. But I've got triple Crystron Quandax. I probably would maybe only really end up running like 2 of this in a final build. But like I said, this is just a lot of filler. It also has the Excel Synchro ability, so it can synchro on your opponent's turn. And if I'm correct, yeah, so it doesn't actually have the restriction that your normal ones have about having to make like machine synchros and stuff like that. You can make anything with it. It's level 4, so if you're using like it and the next one, Amitrix, you can like easily make like something that's level 9 or whatever, and that's really cool. And also, unlike Citri and Ryon and stuff, you can use as many materials as you want, so that's helpful. And then if this guy gets destroyed, you get to summon any of your Crystron monsters from your grave, and that's just handy. Its stats actually aren't awful, and since I run that weird field spell, it actually has like decent stats, but you're usually going to be synchroing in a way, so not a biggie. Then I've got triple Crystron Amitrix, which has actually like useful function. When you special summon it, all your opponent's monsters get changed to defense position, so like not bad, or all their special summoned monsters get changed to defense position, which is actually not too bad because you can Excel Synchro this out in your opponent's turn, like right when they enter their battle phase. You can basically force all their monsters to defense and kind of shut their turn down. So very helpful, and it also floats when it dies. I probably would only run like 2 of it, but like I said, lots of filler. Then I got some level 6s. Powered and Zektron is actually really useful because when you Excel Synchro this out in your opponent's turn, its effect activates. It stops it from being destroyed by battling card effects, and you don't take any damage, so you can live pretty much guaranteed for that turn. Really cool. I've got 2 high-speed Roid Kendama. This card's not that great. You shouldn't be running 2. You might not even really want to run 1. Just filler. It can summon itself from the grave, which is neat, and like it pierces and can like deal 500. I actually have killed somebody with that little 500 burn, but generally speaking, no, it's not that great. I really should probably just run like a second powered in Zektron and maybe find something else. So that's where you guys' suggestions come in. Then you got the big ones, Crystron Phoenix. These are kind of hard to summon because they have weird requirements. Like this takes like 1 tuner synchro and then also like 1 or more non-tuner synchro monsters. So it can be a little weird. Like you can make it with Quandax and Amitrix, but this guy in particular is a little bit tougher because he takes 2 or more tuners and then a non-tuner monster. So it's a little weird. Like you usually have to use like Quandax with Citri and then like something else. So it's kind of weird. But basically this, when it gets summoned, banishes all your opponent's spell and traps in the field and their grave. So it can get rid of Pendulum Scales, which is great, and get rid of some of those annoying graveyard cards like maybe Breakthrough or something if it's in the extra deck. And that's really useful. All those cards, Return of the Dragon Lords, for example. And this actually not banishes, but actually, no, it does banish. Yeah, it banishes monsters on the field up to the number of synchro materials you used. So since you always will have like used 3, all the better. You get to like banish 3 cards. It kind of feels like a Trish. Then you've got Crystal Wing. You can make it, so why not? I wish this was one of those decks like Wind Witches or even Blue Eyes where you could like make it with some degree of protection, but it's whatever. And then Vermilion Dragon Mech, which is actually like a decent card in this deck. It's pretty cool. It's level 9, and let me reread its effect. I don't use it too much. You can banish a tuner from your hand, field, or grave, target a card on the field, and destroy. And then also if it gets destroyed by a card effect, you can summon a banished tuner. And since a lot of your stuff you don't mind it being banished because you can bring it right back, means that this card isn't all too bad. So that's my very preliminary, very early build of Crystrons. I hope you guys liked it and maybe it gave you some ideas. Like I said, it's not complete. I want your feedback for this. It's a deck I've been, playtesting around, but I'm like completely not sure on like where I want to take this. And I know that there have been builds of this like that have topped regionals using it as more of an engine, but I want to keep it as pure as possible. So let me know down in the comments below what you guys think, what changes you'd maybe make, how you've been running your deck. Keep it constructive, keep it respectful. But yeah, thumbs if you like the video, subs if you love the video, and check me out on social media. Check out TCG Player. Thanks to them, I was actually able to build this deck. And that should be it. So I'll catch you guys in the next one. Later.